Hey guys, what's up? With the release of Cyberpunk 2077 only a few days away, I wanted to make a full overview of everything we know about the game before release. I'm going to go over some basic lore, common misconceptions about the game, mechanics, gameplay features, and everything else you need to know before you start your first playthrough. Stay tuned until the end of the video for a chance to win a copy of Cyberpunk 2077. This is the Cyber Informant, and let's dive right in. Let's start by going over what exactly Cyberpunk 2077 is, and its differences and similarities to other games. First and foremost, Cyberpunk is an open-world role-playing action RPG. I've heard many people call it a futuristic GTA, which is a very shallow interpretation of the game. Unlike GTA, Cyberpunk is not a lifestyle simulator. The story and RPG mechanics are the main driving force of the game. Choices you make in-game actually matter. Choosing who lives, who dies, which gangs or factions to side with will all change the overarching story and the ending of the game. CDPR have created here something different. You are the character in the game, not an outsider controlling a character in a universe that is indifferent to your choices. Now, let's get into the meat of things. Starting with character creation. There are a few different cosmetic customization options for your character. The visual customization includes things such as hair, nails, cosmetic cyberware, breast, genitals, and much more. The only choice here that really changes any gameplay is the choice of body type. Characters which can be romanced in the game have preferences, mainly focused on the body type of the character you are playing. Next up, you have attribute point distribution. You get 20 points to distribute across 5 skills: technical, reflex, body, intelligence, and cool. The different stats affect your proficiency with different mechanics in the game, such as how much health you have, how good you are with different weapons, and your ability to utilize your hacking skills. I've already made a video covering attribute skills and perks in depth. Click on the card on the top right to check that out. Along with all that, your character can be modified with the addition of Cyberware. In the Cyberpunk universe, it is very common to enhance your physical body with the addition of electronics and other mechanical parts. These can range from tiny processors in your head to projectile launch systems embedded in your arms. To see a full list of all the cyberware we currently know about, check out my video where I cover them in depth. The last and most impactful decision is your choice in life path. When you create a new character, you must choose between 3 life paths: Nomad, Street Kid, and Corpo. Your choice here changes everything, from the prologue of the game, which was as long as 6 hours for some of the testers, to the choices you can make throughout your playthrough and the ending of the game. Certain quests and romances are only accessible to certain life paths, so choose wisely. Keep in mind that if you start the game as a Corpo and end up building a relationship with the Nomads, you can potentially get a Nomad ending. You won't be able to pick Nomad dialogue options, but the story does change based on your playstyle. The Nomad life path has you starting out in what is called the Badlands. This is the area outside of Night City, the location where the game takes place. It's a barren area with small groups of travelers who have chosen freedom above all else. As a Nomad, your character values family, camaraderie, and freedom. You make your way into Night City across the border between Northern and Southern California. And I won't say anything else as I don't want to spoil the game. As a street kid, you are someone who grew up on the poor streets of Night City. You know the back alleys, fixers, gangs, and everything about who really runs the streets. In the prologue, you are tasked with stealing a hypercar to pay off the debt of a friendly bartender. Lastly, as a Corpo, you are an executive in Night City. You worked for a corporation called Arasaka, and all is well until some unfortunate circumstances lead you to be betrayed by the company you work for. Your only goal in life is to fight your way back to where you were and take down the people who backstabbed you. All the life paths eventually converge with you meeting Jackie, and a time skip that leads to a rescue mission which we saw in the 2018 gameplay demo. Eventually, you and Jackie need to steal a piece of cyberware which basically grants immortality. One way or another, you end up with Johnny Silverhand living inside your mind. Johnny is played by Keanu Reeves, who's basically a rocker boy who threw down with Arasaka in the past and was supposedly killed. That's all I'll tell you about the main story, as I don't want to get too deep into spoiler territory. Now, one of the most impressive parts of Cyberpunk is Night City itself. The map size is very deceptive, as the city is very dense and packed with quests and events around every corner, not to mention the impressive verticality that CDPR have built in. There will be many floors to the buildings you explore, and this is complemented by structures called mega buildings, which are like tiny societies in one giant mega complex of interconnected buildings. In Night City, there are many smaller districts controlled by gangs, police, and corporations. We already talked about the Badlands, so I'll go over some of the other notable districts. The city center is dominated by skyscrapers and mega screens. It is the heart of Night City with 2 sub-districts. Corporate Plaza is where all the mega corporations are located, with Arasaka Tower at the center. This place is heavily policed by both NCPD and the corporation's own private military forces. Then there's downtown, which is where the nightlife of Night City exists. Bars, clubs, restaurants are all located here. South of the city center you have Haywood, which is where you would find City Hall and Reconciliation Park, which is rumored to have been built on top of a radioactive landfill. This area is controlled by the Valentinos. Pacifica was supposed to be a beautiful tourist hub in Night City. At some point funding was pulled and the project and construction was abandoned. Pacifica became a lawless area where even NCPD doesn't bother patrolling. The Grand Imperial Mall, located in Pacifica, became the base for the Animals, a gang of extreme steroid users who are at war with the Voodoo Boys, which are some of the best netrunners in Night City. Santo Domingo is the industrial hub of Night City. Covered with factories and industrial complexes, it's controlled mainly by the corporations of Night City. This district is home to the 6th Street Gang, which consists of veterans and supporters of traditional American values. Watson was a prosperous district which eventually fell victim to the high crime rates in Night City, and is now one of the districts with the highest rate of criminal activity. The design of Watson takes inspiration from Chinese and Japanese culture. This is where you can find Little China, which is the entertainment hub for this part of Night City, and Kabuki, which is a bazaar that stretches across multiple streets. Westbrook is one of the more affluent districts in Night City. The North Oak sub-district is where the rich and famous citizens make their home, while Charter Hill is where you'll find those still trying to climb the ladder. One big takeaway for anyone who played any pre-release version of the game is that Night City feels like an actual lived-in city. Different areas have different art styles, and people you find in them are also tailored to that area. Now, with such a huge city, you do need a way to get around. Vehicles are a big part of Cyberpunk 2077. CDPR gave extra attention to all the cars you can find in Night City. There is no car customization, but there are plenty of vehicles to choose from and variations of those vehicles that fit the environment. So a Quadra Type 66 from the city center will look and drive differently than one you would find in the Badlands. There are 6 classes of vehicles in the game, with a few different vehicles available to each class. First up is the Economy class. These are low-end starter cars, no advanced tech, and they all look like they're on the verge of falling apart. This is most likely what you're going to start with until you save up some eddies to buy yourself something nice. Some models include the Archer Hella, Thornton Colby, and the Mackie Guy My P126. Heavy is a class of armored vehicles and trucks. They seem more like situational vehicles that you would need for specific missions. We've got vehicles like the Militech Behemoth and the Zukaz Bratsk. Next up is the Executive class. Think of this as luxury sedans. There are plush rides with some armor. A step up from economy, but not the best the game has to offer. Here you will see cars like the Villefort Alvarado and the Chevrolet Thrax. Now, probably the most popular class of vehicles is sports cars. These are fast cars that you will probably be driving around most of the time and taking them with you to racing events in the game. Here we've got cars such as the Quadra Type 66 and the Porsche 911. The top tier vehicles in the game are hypercars, loaded with futuristic tech, armored to the point of having screens instead of windows, and faster than anything else. These cost a fortune, but they are gorgeous. You can get cars like the Rayfield Erendite and the Rayfield Caliburn, along with many others. Lastly, we have motorcycles. This is one of the few ways to see your character in-game, as you are locked to first person 90% of the time. The other way is photo mode, which CDPR did show off earlier this week, and to look at your reflections and things such as mirrors. You can pretty much steal any car in the game as long as you have the right set of skills. Some cars require you to have brute strength to simply pry open the doors, and others require you to hack into the car to gain access. You cannot own stolen cars as they will disappear after you move away from them, but you can own cars and call them to you GTA style. A little drop down will let you choose between cars currently stored in your garage. Now that we know about the city and have a way to get around, let's talk about how you will be taking down your enemies. Along with Cyberware, the most prominent method will be to use weapons. Cyberpunk features 4 types of weapons. Power weapons, which are a more traditional style of guns, still using things such as traditional ammo, caliber, and cartridges. This category includes disposable weapons along with more normal weapons such as traditional rifles, shotguns, SMGs, and revolvers. Tech weapons are guns that use an electromagnetic charge to propel their bullets. This gives them extreme penetrative force, so you can blow away enemies or shoot them through cover. Smart weapons use guided missile technology. All your bullets are tiny missiles that lock on and home into your targets. The bullets can curve around walls and are great weapons for people who want to play Cyberpunk mainly for the story and don't want to worry about their bad aim. Lastly, we have melee weapons such as the thermal katana. These are pretty self-explanatory. You will have a range of blunt and sharp weapons to dismember your enemies with. You can also modify weapons to different degrees. There are simple attachments that improve some stats such as accuracy or fire rate, and there are attachments that change how the weapon feels completely, like giving a gun the ability to ricochet bullets off walls. All in all, Cyberpunk 2077 is a massive undertaking. The game has been in development for almost a decade and it shows, not only with the depth and complexity of its systems, but how well integrated they are with each other. From the way your choices impact the story to the many different ways there are to complete the same quest. CDPR has said that with a game of this size, you are going to need to play through it a few times to get the full experience. And anyone who has tried the game out recently has had nothing but praise for it. I hope you're all as excited as I am for December 10th, and one of you will be winning a copy of Cyberpunk 2077. To enter, all you need to do is hit the like and subscribe button, then leave a comment down below with what system you'll be playing on along with what life path is your first choice. I will announce the winner on December 8th right here on YouTube, along with my Instagram and Twitter. I will be doing a lot more giveaways in the future, so turn on the notification bell to stay in the loop. That's all for today. Catch you guys in the next one.